Hi there, I'm Matt from the Underground Cookery School. Today I'm just going to show you a really simple, easy recipe. Well, I'm going to show you how to roast a duck today. The first thing that you need to do is give it a good old wash. So rinse it under a cold tap, pat it dry with a bit of kitchen towel, which we've already done. You can then just stuff the cavity full of whatever you like. I mean, this is really a very, very simple thing to do, and cooking chicken is a similar sort of level of simplicity. Actually, the first thing we should do, I'm just going to give my hands a very quick wipe because I have just touched the bird, but we're going to put a little bit of black pepper in there, just in the outer edges of the carcass. I'm going to put some thyme in there. I've also got some garlic here, and although I peeled it, I'm just going to sort of roughly chop it like that. There we go. And just shove that in. You know, I never have enough garlic in something like this because it just permeates. You know, if you really want to go wild, you can rub the outer skin. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I've got some duck fat, which I'm just going to smear over that outer skin. And what you can then do, if you really like, I mean, this is a quite 70s thing to do, but you know, if you put some orange zest in the skin like that, I do tend to find with these zesters you get quite a lot in, but you can just rub it into the skin like that. I find if you're doing chicken, lemon is a particularly good one, but just to get some of that citrusy flavour in there. And then of course you can add a little bit of citrus or a bit of orange. You know, I think the fun thing about cooking, you know, any poultry is just put whatever you've got or like in the cavity. You know, if all else fails, you know, a good old onion is as good as anything. But you know, in the past I have cooked poultry without putting anything in the cavity, and it just tastes just so bland. And you know, I used to get fed up when people used to bang on about that sort of thing, but actually I really mean it. Bit of black pepper, not that much. A bit of salt. And I'm going to turn it upside down and just finish off. Add a bit of extra fat to it. There we go. A little bit of black pepper. A little bit of that. I'm just going to take final bit of orange, just rub that in there, just to give it a bit of extra flavour. Maybe a little bit more zest here. But this is effectively it, and all I'm going to do now is just shove it in the oven and roast it for about an hour and a half. Now the thing is, I always like to roast all poultry upside down like that first. For about the first half hour. A lot of ovens convect heat from the top, so if you do roast it this way, you manage to get the legs and the thighs nice and evenly cooked, the skin nicely brown, so that when you turn it over for the last hour, you're getting the benefit. Well, that goes in. The oven's on about, my oven's 170, but most domestic conventional ovens that aren't fan assisted, I would say 180 degrees. That's a small duck. It's only about 1.5 kilos, so I would probably cook that for something like an hour and a half. The rule of thumb is generally 20 minutes a pound plus 15 minutes to start off with, and then just have a little look at it at the end and see if it needs a little bit longer. I've always said though that when cooking anything in the oven, it's the amount of time you let it cook outside the oven that makes the difference. And what you want to do is slightly, just have it marginally undercooked. Comes out the oven, you're going to let it rest for a good 10 minutes, i.e. just sat there with a bit of tin foil over the top. And during that time it will continue to cook through. All those lovely juices will flow. We'll have a look at that in about, we'll come back to that in what I suspect will be about half an hour's time. We'll turn it round, and then we'll cook it for the further hour, and then you'll see the roast duck in its entirety at the end of the cooking process. So that's been in for about half an hour now. So as you can see, that's beautifully roasted on the top. So what I'm going to do now is just using my tongs, turn that over. Just another little tip here, it's always worth doing this if you can, is just giving it a good old baste. So that's going to go back in the oven now for, well, I would normally say another 45 minutes, something like that. It's been in for half an hour. It is only a small duck and it is looking, I mean, there's still about probably half an hour left in there, but this duck's only going to take an hour and 10 minutes. But don't be deceived, this is a very quick oven. It's fan assisted and your oven at home will potentially be a lot slower. So anyway, when you come back, we'll take that out the oven. Right, well the duck has been in there now for probably the best part of an hour and a half. And as you can see, it's beautifully cooked. As I was banging on earlier on, and I always bang on about this, the amount of time that you let it cook outside the oven, I think is as important as the amount in. So we're going to leave it for probably about 7 or 8 minutes just to rest, and then we'll carve. Well, we've had a good old go at carving it up. I've plated it up over here. I mean, that really is it. That's how you roast a duck.